Hi everybody and welcome back to my gardening channel. Last year, for any of those of you who followed me last year at all, I really started a weekly diary, which is really intended for me to sort of see how my garden was working, what wasn't, how fast things were growing, and I put it out on YouTube for the world to see. But it really was a personal video, a personal diary for my garden. And at the end of the year, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to keep going or not, or what I wanted to do with it, because I really had my reference points that I was looking for. And I decided to try it again. I'm going to try for a second year to see how things change and just kind of keep going on this. So come along with me for the journey if you're interested. But every week I'm going to try to put out a video that speaks to any projects that happen in the garden. And this time of year it's mostly going to be sort of structural things or infrastructure or seeds and that kind of stuff, because there's not a lot of gardening going on in my garden this year. And as the summer progresses, spring and summer progresses, it'll get a lot busier. But yeah, I'm going to try it again. And then I'm going to see how it compared to last year to this year, which kind of is always the ultimate goal. So anyway, enjoy, and I hope thanks, and I hope you enjoy this video. The first thing we're going to watch here is some tree cutting in the yard. So we have these laurel trees that have been overhanging the garden since we moved in. They're really mature trees that were planted back in the 90s. And the reason I wanted them cut back was because anytime it rains, the laurels are actually so thick that the rain doesn't actually hit the ground underneath them, and it actually makes an incredibly dry spot. So although they get plenty of sun, they don't get a lot of rain. And I just kind of wanted to open them back up to actually be, able to get some rain. It'll get more light in there, which is great as well. And this coming year, I will be putting in a form of like drip irrigation, so that will also help with the dryness. But I just thought I wanted to open up a bit more, and funny enough, when we started this project, we thought we might actually take a bunch more off than we ended up doing, but we ended up with such a lot of tree that came down, we stopped there. But I'm going to show you here, every year I do this, I kind of go through and I set up my garden based on looking at the beds, and I decide where I'm going to put everything. I want to make sure that I actually have enough seeds and everything that I'm going to need for the year, so it's a good time for me to look through my seeds and verify that I've got everything that I need. And then the other day I actually ended up going out and spending time. This is one of the first things I do every year, is based on that diagram that you just saw of kind of my plan for the year. And every year I do rotate different crops out. I try to rejuvenate the soil by not having the same crop year after year. And what that requires is there's a bunch of infrastructure that I put in the garden to hold up tomatoes, to hold up cucumbers, to hold up, peas and beans and stuff. And so one of the biggest changes every year is just taking this old fencing that I have and these old sticks and branches that I attached them to, and some T-posts and stuff, and I go and move some old T-posts, rusty T-posts, and move them around the garden and set them up based on what's happening the next year. And what you see me doing here is I'm actually setting up for beans. I had made this little arching thing based on two offcuts of fencing that had been connected at the top, and I've been using this arch for years now. It works, they grow up, it's fine. But what I found is the arch is actually too wide for the rows, and it was kind of annoying me that I couldn't really walk around there and they would overgrow it. And I kind of wanted them to go straight up versus together, because my idea was that they were going to dangle down in the middle and they were going to be easy to pick, and none of that ever happened. So I wanted to try something different. So instead of actually straightening them up, because these poles are bent here, these sticks are bent, I ended up just putting T-posts on the ground, burying the bottoms of them. They're bent forward, but and attaching the fence to the T-posts with wire. So I'm hoping that they will withstand the wind and everything. And so I've got basically two upright structures instead of one. I've separated them, and we'll see how it works. And the other things I ended up moving are, you see me putting in there structures for my tomatoes, and because I grow them up off the ground on, I don't do hoops. Hoops for me actually don't work. They're not strong enough, or I don't like how they grow, and I don't know, growing them, kind of feeding them along a fence and kind of weaving them in, just for me makes more sense. So you see me doing that. I grow my cucumbers up, I grow my peas up, and I grow my beans up. And I think those are the four things that I'm setting up here and getting ready for next year. Another quick project I did is I was actually going through, this is up near the house, but this is our strawberry patch. We put the strawberries in to be ground cover, but they ended up actually producing a ton of berries. And what I wanted to do is that, you know how they send out runners? Well, I was kind of just ripping out leaves and a bunch of these runners came out. And I thought, why don't I put them, I made my first strawberry patch earlier this year, but I thought about putting them around the bottom of my dahlias, and they'll kind of come and produce fruit first and then the dahlias will come up. So that's what I did there. It's an experiment. We'll see how it goes. And when I was doing that, I actually noticed that my garlic that I planted last fall is just starting to come up, significantly later than it came up last year, but I'm excited about it. And a project I had done at the end of the year too is I thinned out my raspberry canes, not super thin, but I'm actually not cutting them to the ground this year. I have a couple lettuces that went to self-seed, and these are my beets. They're an experiment to see if they go to seed and I can collect seed. And lastly, we're going to kind of look here at this is where my lettuces were. This is where my potatoes were last year, where my lettuces were in the fall. And with the trimming of those trees and branches crashing down, it kind of took out all my lettuces, and that's fine. But I have a ton of potatoes coming back up in this row, so I'm going to have to go through and dig all those out to make sure those are out. And I do have a little bit of broccoli left over as well that is growing up for next year, which I'm excited about. So this is just me kind of going through and verifying that I have everything I need, just checking my seed quantity and everything. And you know, I've never really been one to pay attention to variety of seeds per se. I just I need cauliflower and I just kind of pick one out. But I'm going to start actually paying more attention to varieties that maybe do well or don't do well. I know that certain plants haven't done well in the garden. In general, certain cabbages and stuff, I can't get them to grow. I don't know what it is. So I'll go through and I'll verify everything that I need, take notes, and I didn't have a lot that I don't have seeds for. And if you guys remember last year, I actually was trying to do a cauliflower experiment where I was growing cauliflower to seed to collect seeds, and that just failed miserably. So that's one of the things I have to buy. But I'm getting excited to get this year off and started.